House Democrats vote in favor of a January 6th commission, a 9/11 style commission for the January 6th insurrection, also known as a riot, for which people have already begun to serve solitary confinement sentences for crimes including vandalism and trespassing. Kurt Schlichter is with us now. He is a senior writer at Townhall.com. He's also a veteran and a lawyer and a guy who knows many things. Kurt, great to have you.
Great to be here.
The January 6th Commission is not going to be anything other than an extension, really, of what we've seen in the past in situations like this, whether it's the two impeachments against Trump or the Russia Special Counsel probe of Mueller, where this is just going to be used for propaganda purposes. Or am I missing something, Kurt?
No, you're not missing. This is a festival of onanism. It'll do nothing but give transitory pleasure to the Democrats and allow them to distract from President Asterisk's unbroken track record of failure. Gas lines, war in the Middle East, inflation. It's like Jimmy Carter's coming back without the competence.
Amazing to see how quickly things have unraveled. And I would even note that the border, for me, is the one that's the most obvious and direct failure of the Biden administration, as in he changed the approach, he changed the rules, and the floodgates were open. But you name all these other things, too. I mean, the economy right now should be a rocket ship that everyone feels like they're just trying to get a piece of. And instead, people are really concerned about inflation, really concerned that we may stall out or even sputter and start heading in the wrong direction. And it just goes to show you, I mean, we're reliving so many of the failures of the Obama years all over again because Democrats take the wrong lessons from the pain that we, the American people, have to go through.
Well, Buck, I think you're missing the bigger point here and why we should be celebrating, which is no mean tweets. We don't have a guy in the White House being mean to celebrities and other politicians of both parties, to the extent there are two parties. We have no mean tweets, and we should be, I guess that should be enough. Now, it's not enough for you or for me or for our listeners, but I guess that makes us bad people.
It's stunning that the journos out there are still trying to push the storyline of an insurrection. I mean, it's a term they use very intentionally, and I see the propagandistic effect of it, Kurt, the same way that they always talked about Russia collusion, which was always fascinating because collusion is not a crime unless you're colluding to fix prices or something as a company. But this Russia collusion, there was a federal statute that they could have referenced, Russia conspiracy, but they always wanted to leave it open. It was all about narrative creation. So even if they didn't find a crime, collusion was almost like a willingness to think about this other crime that Trump didn't actually do. You see this now with the way they use the word insurrection to make it sound like there was a real serious effort to overthrow the United States government. I mean, if you would have had, how many people would it really take to deal with QAnon shaman? And if they went in there and they were there was some lethal force used, as we know, against Ashley Babbitt. But if there was a broader usage of lethal force against those people, the reason it didn't happen is because they weren't using lethal force, meaning the protesters inside the building. How can you have it? How can you have a bloodless coup, so to speak? Well, with the blood's on one side, as we know, when you have people who are unarmed and taking selfies inside the Capitol building.
Well, you can't and you don't. And I think this is just for liberals who watch CNN, MSNB, CNN, to essentially kill time and distract between Biden failures. Now, look, you were in a country torn by a civil war. I've spent time in a country torn by a civil war, and I was in a real insurrection here in Los Angeles, egged on by Maxine Waters. I'm talking about the LA riots. I served in the Army for 3 weeks on the streets. So to those of us who are, adults with experience outside of gender studies seminars and the MSNBC green room, this is not only a joke, but it's a joke in bad taste. And I think that they're overstepping. I mean, normal people look at this and they start seeing the video footage, which the federal government is attempting to suppress remarkably. And they're seeing these guys saying, yeah, we're going to be peaceful. And the cops saying, come on in. As a lawyer, I love this. And I can't. And have you noticed that the feds are doing everything they can to push off these trials? You have a right to a speedy trial. In certain circumstances, the government can ask for more time, and it has. It's trying to push it out. If I was representing any of these guys, and I don't do criminal law, but if I was representing any of these guys, I'd say, no. No waiver of time. You take us to trial. Oh, by the way, under Brady, I want every foot of film you took. I want every inch of video, every single one, to defend my client.
It's amazing how they've used this. They've weaponized this. It's a club with which they bludgeon all political opponents now, all GOP, conservative, Trump supporters, everybody. The insurrection. We're speaking to Kurt Schlichter.
My insurrection!
Yeah, we're speaking to Kurt Schlichter. He's a veteran, senior writer at Townhall.com. And Kurt, I actually wanted you to tell us a little bit about, because you said you spent time in the military when you were deployed on the streets of Los Angeles during what really did feel like an insurrection. What was going on? I mean, this does not get the attention in our collective historical memory that it should. What was that like?
Well, I compare it to Capitol Hill, which looked like, except for a unknown federal officer murdering an unarmed trespasser, that seemed like a fairly tame frat party. Now in Los Angeles, stuff was on fire. People were getting shot. Your nostrils were filled with smoke. And in my hands, I had a M16A1, because it was National Guard, and we still had the A1, fully automatic, real-world assault rifle, and a bunch of ammo. It was serious stuff. It was real. And what happened on Capitol Hill was a joke, and we need to continue to treat it as a joke. And finally, some Republicans are starting to come around and treat it with the lack of seriousness it deserves.
What do you make of the 35 GOP members who voted in the House along with this? Democrats don't have this. Democrats don't have elected officials on key issues, on important moments, decide to spit in the face of their base, of their party, of their own side. It is a constant, it's like the Romneyite disease. It is a constant challenge for the GOP.
Yes, well, there are less of them now, but remember that the left has an advantage. To keep its people in line, it has the media and the culture and the institutions. And to try and force our people over, it can tempt them with the media, the culture, and the institutions. I mean, Liz Cheney, who represents a fraction of Republicans, who's got a poll rating in Wyoming that's right down there with pedophiles, is getting shots on every single media outlet, not just little hits. Long, in-depth interviews, because here's the conscience of the Republican Party. Now, as fun as it is to see the Democrats tongue-bathing a Cheney, it's bizarre that anyone could take her seriously as anything else but a puppet, and a willing one. She's essentially dancing for quarters.
We're speaking to Kurt Schlichter, veteran, Townhall.com, senior writer and lawyer. And Kurt, do you think that there's any chance that this commission actually goes through, that the Senate would allow this?
I think that we will find 41 people to block it. I think when Mitch McConnell, who was not happy with the president and not happy what happened on Capitol Hill, I think he understands absolutely that this is designed to be the lead news item for the next year and a half, as opposed to the disaster that is the Biden administration. And no one is more persuasive than the murder turtle. Now, we all have, look, as hardcore conservatives, we all have some beefs with McConnell. That's no secret. But you got to give him his due. He is the toughest, most ruthless, most effective Senate Majority Leader probably of all time. He is unbelievably good at his job, and if he doesn't want this to happen, it will unhappen.
And yet the media will continue to do their own version of the January 6th Commission day after day. They'll find ways to continue to bring this up. And I think it's interesting that there's been so little attention paid to the fact that, the fact that there's a video, for example, that is out there and that people have seen where you have Capitol Hill police saying, okay, if you guys are going to be cool, you can come into the building now. I can tell you that if I were here in New York City in City Hall and I was armed by the state to protect the building, I would not allow an insurrectionist, if I really thought that's what's going on, or just walk in and hang out and take selfies.
Well, look, I don't think a lot of these are going to trial. I think they're trying to push it off as long as possible. I think one guy's pleading guilty and agreed to give evidence. He should be the only one that incoming President DeSantis or whatever woke Republican replaces this desiccated old weirdo who's currently president when he comes into office, and pardons every single one of them. Not because anything they did was particularly right or okay, but because of simple fairness. BLM and Antifa scumbags don't get treated that way. They get their charges dismissed. Fair is fair. One set of rules, one set of laws.
Yeah, there's people who are sitting in solitary confinement right now, and the judges that refuse to give them bail because they were there on January 6th, they were rioting on January 6th inside the Capitol building. Kurt, I don't know if you've seen this, but at least in one case, a judge has said, we can't let you out because of the continued threat of insurrection. This is insane. I mean, that is actually Soviet-level absurdity and real abuse of state power.
It really is. And when you have judges who do not judge fairly or correctly, that it's not only wrong in itself, it destroys the faith in the system. And your faith in the system should be teetering on the precipice right now. The fact is, there are two sets of laws, Buck. There is one set of law for people favored by the regime. There is another set of law for people like you and me and all our listeners. That is intolerable. We've tolerated it this long because we're not used to it. This is not normal, and people are resistant to accepting it. And you can see that with some Republicans. You see them a while ago, no, trust the system. And now they're going, yeah, I've just seen a little too much. Now I know there's a real problem. People are getting woke, conservative woke, to what's really happening. And as people pull up to the gas pump and pull out their wallets and find they're paying over $5 a gallon for gas because President Asterisk wants to cater to the weather cultists, they're going to start thinking, the news keeps talking about the insurrection, but I'm running out of money to feed my family. Who's going to stand up for me?
And that is the opportunity.
Hopefully us.
That's the opportunity the GOP has. We will see if they take it. Kurt Schlichter, everybody, townhall.com for his latest pieces. Kurt, always a pleasure, man. Talk to you soon.
Thanks.
Hey, Team Buck, thank you so much for watching The First on YouTube. If you like this video, please click that little thumbs up button so then it will log as liked. And also, if you want to see more great content from The First, please click subscribe.